special video, this one. With it being transfer season, I thought I'd round up, in my opinion, what I think are the 5 most shocking transfers of all time in Europe. Coming in at number 5, and this one hurt me. I won't lie to you. It was Fernando Torres from Liverpool to Chelsea. £50 million we got for him. The warning signs had been there, though, at the end of his time at Liverpool. But that didn't stop Chelsea splurging £50 million on Torres in January 2011. At the time, this was such a big deal. Liverpool fans were absolutely gutted about it. But, you know, a lot of people say, well, what did he do at Chelsea? He flopped. Which I think is a little bit harsh. The shocking factor about it is, 1, it was the last day of the transfer window in January 2011. 2, it was the fee. I mean, at the time, we saw Torres declining towards the end of 2010 and into the start of 2011. The same legs weren't there. The pace had maybe diminished a little bit. But I think because it was the last day of the transfer window, that's what made it such a shocking transfer. There was no time really for Liverpool to work around that. Of course, Liverpool, with that £50 million, did bring in Andy Carroll for £35 million and Luis Suarez for £22.5 million. You could say that the latter was definitely worth the money, but that £35 million reinvested into Andy Carroll, who at the time, I do think was the highest goal scorer in the Premier League at that time. Definitely wasn't, a move that worked out well in the end. And I think it was just shocking as well, because Liverpool and Chelsea doing business together in this era, I just didn't think it would happen. At number 4, wow. I'm so glad I didn't support Arsenal or Chelsea during this time, because this was toxic. Ashley Cole from Arsenal to Chelsea. How shocking was this? Well, in an ill-advised passage in his autobiography, Ashley Cole wrote that Arsenal's offer of a new contract of worth £55,000 per week left him trembling with anger. The left-back duly swapped Arsenal for Chelsea after a lengthy transfer saga which saw the Blues and their manager Jose Mourinho and Cole himself all fined for tapping up. There was a meeting behind closed doors. It wasn't maybe signed off by both clubs. And tapping up was a thing that Jose Mourinho used to do quite a lot. And after he made this move, Chelsea fans adored him. He went on to win the Champions League with Chelsea. He's got the most FA Cup wins of any player, I think, and did really well, won the Premier League with them as well. And if you look back on that transfer, having mentioned all of that, then it was a really good move for Ashley Cole. But the Arsenal fans, oh wow, they called him Cashley Cole. They were insulting him. They were making slurs and songs about him. They really didn't like him, to the point where actually they coined the term Cashley Cole. And I think when you move from London club to London club, especially at this time, by the way, when Arsenal were pretty much fresh from winning the Invincibles, and Chelsea in their new era of money under Roman Abramovich and Jose Mourinho, you just didn't see this one coming. And I think the tapping up, it was all a bit cloak and dagger. The Arsenal fans didn't like it at all. So you can understand, really, in a way, why they hated it. But also from the players' point of view, you have to understand that, look, he got a better deal. He became a lot more successful at Chelsea, won a lot of trophies, and definitely cemented himself as probably the best left-back ever in the Premier League. So Ashley Cole, Arsenal to Chelsea. Arsenal fans, does that still burn you? Are you still upset and angered by this one? Or do you now not harbour any regret about the transfer? Do you actually think, well, looking back, it was the right move for him? Arsenal didn't stump up enough money. That was number 4. But coming in at number 3, this one for me is a shocker because of the fee. It's still, to this day, the biggest transfer of all time. And it was Neymar from Barcelona to PSG. In the season before, he signed for PSG. I think he scored 13 goals and got 14 assists, but his eyes were firmly set on the Ballon d'Or, which he'll never actually win now. And for him, you have to think a player like Neymar, in his pomp, should have been in with a shout at least for the Ballon d'Or. But let's not forget, in that team at Barcelona, Messi, Neymar and Suarez, MSN, we are talking potentially up there with Bale, Benzema and Cristiano, up there with Sadio Mane, Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino. I would actually say those 3, and I'd have the Liverpool contingent as third in that 3. I'd say those 3 trios the best three trios in terms of an attacking lineup, in terms of goals, output, assists that there's ever been. But this one was unbelievable because of the fee, and this one had such a big impact. There was a real ripple effect in the transfer market, the windows, because this deal went through. And actually, before Neymar, PSG was worth 1 billion. Now we're worth 1.5 billion, declared the club president Nasser Al-Khelaifi at his unveiling. But it was just the effects that led on from that. It probably, looking back on it, didn't actually work out to the full extent for PSG at Neymar. But it was a catalyst for bigger deals. It was a catalyst for more expensive transfers in the market, and it definitely altered and moved the parameters of the transfer world. It was a $240 million deal. I think it was £198 million with Barcelona to sign the Brazilian star in 2017. And at that point, he was thinking, right, Champions Leagues will probably be coming my way. Ballon d'Or will probably be coming my way. And that transfer fee since has never been beaten. Next up, this one right here, I think it's the most shocking ever transfer in English football history. I'll go that far. And of course, you know who I'm talking about. Big man Sol Campbell from Tottenham to Arsenal. You ask Robbie about this one, he's still they did the interview, didn't they, on AFTV, and he really broke it down. But Arsenal called a press conference in the summer of 2001, right? They're expected to unveil Richard Wright, the journeyman goalkeeper who had time at Everton as well. And journalist jaws promptly dropped to the floor when Sol Campbell, the captain of arch rivals Tottenham Hotspur, walks through the door. How incredible is that as a shocking moment, by the way? These days, with Fabrizio Romano, with David Ornstein, you never really get shocks and surprises. Long gone are the days when this kind of stuff would happen, where there's no talk, there's no rumours, there's no column inches being filled about the rumours and the potential signings. This one was bang. He walks through the door unannounced from Tottenham to Arsenal. I mean, it does not get more hostile. It doesn't get more ferocious. It doesn't get more... There isn't a derby, I think, in London that has more hatred and the rivalry that spills over sometimes than Tottenham and Arsenal. The centre-back did go on, though, to win 2 Premier League titles with Arsenal, as we know, and 3 FA Cups. And he was never forgiven. Never. Still to this day, 24 years later, he was never forgiven by Spurs supporters who still call him a Judas to this day, and he still cannot go back to Tottenham and watch games there. And I remember at the time in the 99-2000 season, he was interviewed after a game as the current Tottenham captain, and they said, "Are you going to stay?" And I remember, you remember, if you know your stuff, he kind of stroked his chin with a wry smile and said, "Yeah, I'm staying," without the eye contact. So you already knew the body language was the eyes on the door kind of body language. That is the most shocking transfer ever in the UK transfer history. I will say that. I really do believe that. Sol Campbell, Tottenham to Arsenal. That comes in at number 2. But I think you guys know what was coming. And I'll give you an example of what it's like in the modern day era. But let's not hide about this one anymore. Number 1, the most shocking transfer of all time, in my opinion, in European history. Luis Figo, Barcelona to Real Madrid. Figo was not the first or the last player to move directly between Barca and Real Madrid, but this transfer in the year 2000, the turn of the millennium, when he was lauded as one of the great Portuguese players of all time, definitely, in my opinion, is the most shocking transfer of all time. Figo was the jewel in the Barcelona crown. He was fighting for Ballon d'Ors. He was looking to make the switch, under the noses of the culé fans. But Madrid somehow convinced him to cross the Clásico divide, resulting in the Portuguese player having a pig's head thrown at him multiple times, by the way, at the Camp Nou in the Clásico, the first game since he moved to Real Madrid from Barcelona. He goes back to the Camp Nou, and boy, the security that was needed on that day, pitch side, was not a joke, because he went down to take a corner, from what I remember, and there was all sorts of missiles being launched at him, including a pig's head. A pig's head. Do you know how mad that is? Someone's had to go to the butchers, right, and say, I'll have a pig's head. What do you want a pig's head for? Figo's playing at the Camp Nou tonight. I'm just going to launch it at him when he takes a corner. And the pictures went worldwide. It was the front page of every single newspaper in Europe the next day. And you know what? When these shocking transfers happen, yes, you've got one set of fans who absolutely hate the player. He's a Judas. They never want to speak to him again. They never want to see him again. But you've got to have some big balls on you to make that transfer. I tell you what, to go from Barca to Real Madrid, you've got to believe in your quality. But also, you have to make sure that you have got security around you at all times, especially when you're going back to the Camp Nou or when Barcelona came to the Bernabeu. But I mean, my face says it all. I can't believe he had the balls to do that move. I really don't. And at the time, Barca to Real Madrid, it hasn't happened, a plethora of times since. But for me, wow, the absolute cheek of it to go from Barcelona to Real Madrid at the time. But don't forget, he moves to Real Madrid and wins a couple of Champions Leagues in 2000 and 2002, I think. And then after that, I think he went to Inter Milan. He obviously had a few different spells with different clubs. But Luis Figo pretty much was the Ronaldo before Ronaldo when it came to Portugal. So I still can't get over that one. The pig's heads, the divide, the crossing. It's unbelievable, really, when you think about it. In a modern day era, let me have a little think. This would be pretty similar, I'd say, to Lionel Messi going to Real Madrid. I think that's the closest thing I can compare it to. Or it kind of would be like when Coutinho was in his pomp at Liverpool at the end of 2017, the start of 2018. It's like him packing up and moving to Manchester United. Can you imagine that? I can't. And big up to Luis Figo, because I don't think I would have the balls to do that. And let me know if in the chat if you agree with me that this is the most shocking transfer of all time. But obviously, with these lists, right, we've got 5 in the list here, but do let me know in the comments if you agree, or if you think I've missed any out or disagree.